joining us today. Today I'm here with...
I'm Tobi Lebowitz. Nice to meet you all.
And I'm Aime Garciadelosrios. Very happy to be here.
Today we're incredibly fortunate to be joined by two inspiring leaders from the VSE Aviation Women in the Workforce team in South Florida who have built remarkable careers through very different journeys. We'd absolutely love it if both of you could introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Tobi Lebowitz. I'm the Chief Legal Officer for VSE Aviation. I've been here for about a year and a half. I've been practicing law for almost 21 years. I live in South Florida. I am a Floridian born and raised. I went to University of Florida for undergrad and law school, go Gators. And I am married and have two young children, one in elementary school, one in middle school. We just started school on Monday, so it has been a crazy week, but I'm back. I'm happy that everybody's kind of back to normal and back in our routine.
I'm Aime Garciadelosrios. I have been here for 20 years, and the last 7 or so of those is as a director of our global quality side for our distribution segment. Fun fact about myself is I was actually born in Cuba. I came when I was a year old. And so I consider myself a Floridian, but I totally have my Cuban roots. Before being in the Women in the Workforce group, I was the president to our Latinos Unidos group. I love supporting our ERG groups and the culture that it kind of brings to our facilities and our teams as a whole. I have 2 babies. My daughter is 15 and she's quickly going on 30 and learning how to drive and adding to my gray hairs. And my baby is 12. He's no longer our baby. They are now in 7th and 10th grade. We are a very active family. Sports is everything at home outside of the educational piece, which is our priority. But we have the kids both play ball, so softball and baseball, and we spend a lot of time on the field.
I'd love to ask, if you met your college-age self today, what would surprise her most about the career you've built?
I think, I don't know, my college-age self was pretty on a path and focused and kind of knew what she wanted to do. I would say probably that I live in South Florida. I think I graduated around the September 11th time period, and I had an internship in New York City, and I was supposed to be working at ABC Sports in public relations, and I ended up, they basically closed down the city and canceled all the internships, and I ended up pivoting and going to law school. And I only share that because, life kind of throws you for loops sometimes, and your priorities shift, and you have to be ready to kind of pivot and figure out, things. My path wasn't exactly the path, but I knew eventually I wanted to go to law school, so I just did it sooner, and I'm happy how it turned out, but it was definitely threw me a little bit for a loop as someone who was very focused in college.
So unlike Tobi, I did not have anything figured out. So I was hoping to get into college right after high school, and I homeschooled because I was way ahead in high school, thinking life should start sooner than I knew at the time it should start. But my dad had open heart surgery that spring, and so it kind of delayed me, and so my gap year came in a lot earlier than I planned. And had I known how life is just going to work itself out, I would have probably told young Aime to not stress out.
Yes.
And she was just full of stress and thinking the financial piece was going to not let her pursue her dreams. And coming from an immigrant family, it was so important to be that first person that went to college. But the delay was I'm going to lose traction. It turns out I was right on time, and the path that I was supposed to take worked itself out better, if not at the end, than what I originally thought. And I ended up getting my MBA a little bit later in life. I already had my son by the time I graduated, and I don't regret a second of it. So the stress was very unwarranted. I would have just told Aime to trust herself.
Yeah, I think we all need to tell our younger selves to chill out. It's going to be okay. I mean, work hard, do all the things, but if your path doesn't go as planned, or there's a lot of anticipation for something, like try to put that into like excitement versus like worry. I still try to tell myself that
all the time.
Currently as an adult.
Even now, like looking back at like things in high school, which is obviously like a much smaller like version of stress, but even like looking back, like there were things that like I spent weeks stressing about that, like looking back, I was like, that wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a deal at all. Like I could have been fine, and like I was fine.
Yes.
So I think like looking back, like I definitely like resonate with that. Like stress is something that I feel like is inbuilt, but like controlling that stress is like very important to just like leading like a peaceful life. Have you ever walked into a room and felt completely underqualified? And do you think confidence comes before success or because of success?
Yes, I think I had sat in my 2 previous positions. I had sat through board meetings before and kind of quietly sat and observed. My mentor basically brought me in so I could like see what it's like. But the first time that I like basically sat in a board meeting and had to make a presentation, like I don't even know what I said the whole time. Afterwards they told me you did a great job. I mean, I over-prepared and like read my slides 50 million times and had my husband like quiz me and like whatever. And it was worse than being in, not worse, but more scary than being in a courtroom, because you had these you just had boards of publicly traded company or these like very, they select like very experienced, smart people to give advice and counsel. And I'm sitting in a room with like somebody who runs like, several $billion hedge fund, or like the general of the like the Navy, like I don't know, like the armed forces, and it's it's intimidating. I think the one thing I would say is, and don't discount it, is people are rooting for you. Like there's definitely, and I've been lucky that like even though I've had to over prepare and been nervous and all that kind of stuff, like there's definitely always like a couple of people in the room rooting for you. And like particularly here when I sat through my first board meeting, one of our female board members came out afterwards and was like, "You did a great job, like keep it up, like we're so happy you're here." And like just for her to say that to me, like it was like 2 seconds out of her time, but like she's very busy, like it has like carried me through every single board meeting.
And I feel like now like we're seeing a lot of culture of like be the least qualified person in the room. Like that's how you grow. Like if you're the most qualified, like how will you grow in the room that you're in? So it's like put yourself in situations where you don't know anything. And I feel like that's like been a huge thing that I've tried to do.
So imposters.
Yes, the imposter syndrome.
It has just beat me up my entire career. And even,
but in your head.
Yes. Even recent like experiences where I'm like very comfortable outside of the spotlight, and then the spotlight turns on and I'm like tongue tied, and there's like sweat happening, and
but nobody else notices.
It's very internal to Aime.
Yeah. So like I do not notice this at all with you.
Very internal to Aime. I've worked really hard at it throughout my career to not let that anxiety kind of show. But it is a very real thing for me. And so I try to fight it as best I can with like tons of books that help me prepare, women that are empowering. And we were just talking about like reading books that, have very strong female public figures that have done amazing. And so I'm like, this is like a normal thing. Like I'm sure everybody has some sort of jitter, maybe except our CEO. But I actually am very comfortable once I sit in and like break through that initial imposter, like trying to like scream in my head that what am I doing?
Right.
And then I end up enjoying it tremendously. But I do, even like I said, very recent experiences, find myself still battling that door handle and thinking like just push through it, like, and then you'll be fine.
Do you think some of those nerves though like help you better prepare than the next person? I feel sometimes like, yeah, there's this imposter syndrome, but then also it's this, okay, I need to just prepare and make sure that like I am ready for like whatever comes at me. And I think it's like in a way, I don't like that it lurks in the side of my head, but then in the other side, I think I have been prepared for almost anything that's come my way because I over-prepare for everything.
Yes, that is so true. So growing up, I was like the A student, right? And like I was mentioning earlier, like I had all these ambitions for college and then in the workforce, and I just always kept pushing myself. And so part of that is like I'm not afraid of failing, but I don't want to fail so spectacularly that then I don't know what to do with myself because I have like that personality where I want to over-prepare just to make sure everybody looks good in the room.
Right.
And so I think that's my biggest fear really is like I am okay with Amy not looking smart, but I don't want those people that I need to support
Yes.
to feel that. They need to feel like I've given as much as I possibly can and the 100% is there every time. So a lot of pressure that I put on myself, I'm okay with it now, later in my career, but earlier I didn't know how to exactly balance that. So the anxiety was a little bit higher. It's gotten better. I manage it better, but it doesn't 100% go away from me. So
Yeah.
I think it's okay for it to not 100% go away. At least I've accepted that, and then I'm comfortable with giving myself like that pep talk
Yeah.
right at the door handle, saying like, "You got this. Like, stop."
Yeah.
And then I'll push it.
You mentioned something interesting that I think changes as you progress in your career or as you start managing people, and it's a different type of pressure, like that imposter syndrome or like that I'm not good enough or whatever, like Amy or Tobi or whatever, you know, that you need to work hard, but then there's this like other pressure that you want to like perform well for your department and for your employees who work for you, and you want them to be spotlighted and recognized and like all that kind of stuff. So it's like a whole different, it's like I can get over that I've done this great job, but then how do I set my employees up for success? Because I get so much more out of my job when I can do that for my employees than if I, met some goal myself.
Right. I think I definitely feel that, like, as a co-founder of a nonprofit, I feel like prior to starting, like, just as a student, like, you're always kind of, like, looking out for your performance, like, yourself. But, like, starting this nonprofit with my two co-founders, like, it's always been about, like when the organization gets, like, kudos, or when the team gets a kudos, like, that feels so much more rewarding and, like, so much more fulfilling than, like, a personal kudos, because it's like to have someone respect like an entire organization, like a team. I feel like that takes so much more. What's one communication mistake that you see young professionals make repeatedly that you've like noticed that? Like, what's one thing someone did very early in their career that made you think they're going to go very far?
So communication style errors are probably like the biggest impact in a multi-generational workplace.
Right.
And I think the biggest pitfall that we all have, regardless of whether you're earlier in your career or later, is that we want to stick to what works for us instead of trying to understand what works for like the larger audience. And it's tough, right? Like you're not going to meet the exact communication styles of every single person, but finding a balance where you can strike like, okay, I might have later in their career folks in this group, so I need to address them a little different, or I might have enough of a mix here that we can work out, like email works best, or phone calls work best, or Teams messages work best. So that striking that balance, I think, is really where we make mistakes because we're not as open and flexible as we probably should be. And then one thing that I've like noticed for someone that's going to be successful is how inquisitive they are. And I have one particular employee that is a mechanical engineer, actually has an MBA as well. Aerospace engineering. So fun. And he is just full of questions. And I absolutely love speaking to the engineers, so they're all full of questions. But this particular employee is somebody that, like, pretty early on I said, okay, watch out, this is someone who's going to go places. And I always look forward to our one-on-ones because they're so engaging. Sometimes that's what I've had, and just like a bunch of questions are like pre-filled on things he wants to learn. And it's fun because it's not just about his contribution to his immediate team, but it's kind of like understanding like how VSE works, like what functions interact with others, and like how does one site interact with another site. And so I've always thought that that's a fun thing to watch for that kind of like says like, oh, this is a high potential. But I'm seeing it and living it with somebody, so it's been really fun coaching him for the last few months.
That's really amazing. I don't have much to add. I would just say that Aime brought me back to a time when I was a young associate at a law firm and, an older partner, wanted something a certain way and I thought I could do it better, but it wasn't the way in which that person was going to learn what he needed for court or whatever it was. And it, the frustration and not being able to show him my way was better and all this kind of stuff. So write the email in draft form, don't send it. Take a deep breath, and to Amy's point, what is going to help the other person, get what they need, not what you would do. And then when you are in that position, you get to ask your team to give you the work product that you need. And that's different for everybody. So I really resonated with that comment. Definitely draft those emails, those angry emails, and sit on them for a couple hours and then delete them and double delete them and move on.
I'd love to do something a little bit fun with both of you.
Sure.
Kind of like a rapid fire Q&A, just to kind of get to know both of you. Favorite productivity habit?
Calendaring.
AI in my calendar.
Very interesting. One book everyone should read. I know we kind of talked about this off camera, but
Tina Fey's autobiography, but reading it out loud, the audiobook.
okay.
Yeah.
My new favorite obsession is Year of Yes.
Okay.
Oh, the Year of Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
amazing.
Is that Shonda Rhimes?
Yes.
Okay.
Women in the Workforce is doing like a small book club within the
Okay,
ERG,
yes.
So that was like the recent book. But
Okay.
the book we did earlier in the year, don't ask me for the title, I like horrible brain. But it is also great. But this one right now, like for everything, I'm like, yes, 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 yes.
It's on the calendar, no. No, I'm just kidding.
Dream vacation.
I just went on my dream vacation.
Really? Where did you go?
Share.
We went to Greece, which I've always wanted to go to, and there's an island in Greece called Ikaria, which is a blue zone, so people on average live over 100 years. And the way National Geographic's studied, there's a couple of blue zones all over the world. There's actually one in Loma Linda, California. But it's the way that people live their lives, their communities that they're in, lifestyle, like exercise, familial connections, community connections, the food they eat, and so I study a lot of like eating habits and like community engagement habits, and so this community happens to be like on a small island. It's like close to southeast of Athens, like near Turkey.
Okay.
So we spent like 5 days there, and we went and did a cooking class and spent the day with a family who actually, I didn't realize they were like the ones spotlighted in this National Geographic. It's on Netflix. There's like a show about it. And just like learning like their habits that were passed down generation to generation. They care for their elderly, like they don't like stick them in a nursing home. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like that's just not a cultural thing. They live with them and take care of them and honor them. They're walking up and down mountains to go to the beach and just like learning about that sort of stuff. So finally, it was a little bit of a pain to get to. It wasn't that bad, but my husband finally agreed, so we went and we had the most amazing time. There were like not that many people on the island, so it was like beautiful, but it was like unspoiled in a way too. And apropos to our conversation, I didn't know this when I visited. The island is actually very matriarchal instead of patriarchal because, back in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was like a lot of like economic strife, and so starting in like between World War I and World War II, a lot of the men were sent to mainland Greece to get jobs and send money back, and the women were left taking care of the island and batting off pirates and stuff like that. And they also had like the mountains were, because of the pirates, were like the better land. So the boys got that, and then the girls were left with like the land near the beaches and stuff. Well, fast forward 2026, the more lucrative part of the island is all owned by like the daughters of the island, and they have this like sense of like self-worth and like fierceness because they were left to really like defend the island and like make it what it is today and like carry on the traditions of winemaking and things that were traditionally like men. So anyways, I found that so fascinating and was like a highlight of being there, and it wasn't even the reason we were there, so it was really cool.
I would love to get out to Japan at some point, but we like cruising, so we try to find places where we can cruise to, and it's just easier with the kiddos.
Thank you both so much for being here with me today and being a part of Empowerfly. Thank you for all the work that you do at VSE through Women in the Workforce and like through your career as well. I think one of the biggest takeaways from today's session is that careers are very rarely linear, and they are built through curiosity, resilience, continuous learning, and the willingness to like embrace opportunities that you may have never planned for. And so to everyone watching, I hope that this conversation reminds you that leadership doesn't begin when you receive a certain title, but it begins with the choices that you make every day, right? Like asking questions, stepping outside your comfort zone, supporting those around you, and like really like believing in that your voice belongs in every room that you step into. And so on behalf of Empowerfly, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you again to VSE Aviation Women in the Workforce for partnering with us to inspire the next generation of women leaders. Thank you for joining us today. Bye.